signori, per favore, prendete posto, la sessione sta per iniziare.
Okay, all right, the music is over, so let's get this started. Hello, my name is Chiara Lovotti, I'm an ISP Research Fellow, and I'm very, very happy to welcome you all at this panel titled Pivot to the MENA, the BRICS Bold Expansion Strategy. So the BRICS, everyone knows them, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. As you know, recently, between the last year and this year, the BRICS extended membership to several newcomers: Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the Saudi Arabia, question mark, will it stay or will it go? Exactly. Our expert will tell us. And the UAE. So what does this enlargement mean? This is really the question that we will try to unpack in this afternoon session of ours. So from the perspective of BRICS countries, I would say the goal is quite clear: seeking new partners, seeking new friends, seeking new markets, new business options. In the case of Russia and China, there has been much debate on whether Moscow and Beijing also perceive the BRICS Plus, of course, the name of the extended cartel, as a largely anti-Western alliance. We will see what our expert think about that. From the perspective of the new members, so and today here we are focusing primarily on the Middle East and North Africa countries. From their perspective, I would say the core goal is pretty much the same, also seeking new partners. MENA countries also need new partnerships, and for both political and economic reasons. But it may also be that the BRICS Plus membership is particularly appealing for MENA countries because it offers them a platform to really be seated at the stage, at the table of global governance. Over the past few years, MENA countries have been very central in global affairs, but probably it may be that their increased importance has not been adequately reflected within the multilateral institutions that are tasked with their responsibility to uphold global stability and global prosperity, especially if compared to the relevance and the importance and the voice that has traditionally been given to Western powers in the same institutions. And probably it is this mismatch, this difference has pushed MENA countries to look beyond traditional allies and alliances, eventually probably also making the BRICS so attractive for them. So what do MENA countries think they can get from the BRICS? How likely is this group to achieve institutional reforms of global governance? And ultimately, but importantly, is this convergence of interests that we're witnessing now between the BRICS and the MENA countries, is it solid? Is it real enough to last on the long term? So as I said, I've been very, very happy to discuss these with a stellar lineup of speakers. So from my right, Aziz Al-Ghassan, who's a fellow of the CEPAD and also senior fellow of the Observer Research Foundation, right? Nikolai Khajanov, research associate professor at the Gulf Studies Center of the Qatar University. Di Dongsheng is the dean of the School of Global and Area Studies of the Renmin University of China. And Finally, Hamid Reza Azizi, last but not least, a visiting fellow at the SWP. So with no further ado, I would start actually with you, Hamid Reza. I would follow complicated order, not by sitting. Very direct question. What do MENA countries hope to achieve from the BRICS membership?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. Let me start by setting a framework of kind of analytical background of the discussion that can be discussed in detail further. Of course, different countries in the MENA region have different foreign policy priorities, and as a result, their approaches toward BRICS differ, especially in details. But I think the main driving force behind the interest on the side of the MENA countries to either partner with or join the BRICS is some sort of a perception of a change in international system. And especially when it comes to the region, the perception of post-American, not necessarily maybe non-American regional order. And in that sense, in that context, they are basically redefining their roles on the global stage. But that being said, I think we can identify at least three different approaches to BRICS, specifically speaking. On one side, we have Iran, which seems to be interpreting the change that I mentioned in the global stage as the return to bipolarity. Somehow, we have rising non-Western, or in the case of Iran, Eastern Bloc against the Western Bloc, and Iran has been trying to align itself with this emerging bloc. And in that context, we can see decisions like support for Russia in the war in Ukraine, joining BRICS, cooperating with SCO, et cetera, et cetera. So it goes beyond this or that administration, I think. For example, recently, Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, after the BRICS meeting, tweeted something like, the sun is rising from the east and setting in the west. So it's quite telling. It's a kind of deepening, I would say, perception. The second camp, or the second approach, is that of countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, UAE. So they see also the same change, I think, but they are trying to, I would say, in the context of a more pragmatic approach, trying to balance their relationship, the traditional alliances that they have had with the West, with those with emerging powers, without necessarily abandoning those traditional partnerships. So a lot has been said about diversification of alliances or the concept of a multi-aligned Middle East. As far as I can see, it goes even beyond a multi-aligned foreign policy. We can speak of a post-aligned Middle East, because these countries are not seeking going toward different directions, asking for alliances. They are trying to increase their weight and present themselves as independent centers of gravity, so that global powers would come to them. So this is the substantial shift, I think, geopolitical shift that we've seen. And finally, when it comes to countries like Egypt and other countries that have been working somehow in different capacities with BRICS, I think it's about, again, the same perception, but trying to use this moment of multipolarity in order to get the maximum benefits from both sides, especially when it comes to economic opportunities, what BRICS has promised to fulfill, for example, currency investment, etc. So that's how I see it, actually.
Thank you, Hamid Reza. Aziz, I will now come to you. We mentioned this. For over a year, Saudi Arabia has been on the fence on whether to join the BRICS or not. Will it stay or will it go? What should we expect?
Well, firstly, I just wanted to thank all the organizers. Thank you for this invitation, and thank you all for being here. So I think, a lot of people are, every time when Saudi Arabia and BRICS comes into the discussion, one of the first things they ask me is Saudi Arabia in BRICS or is it not in BRICS? What's going on here? We don't know. And I think it is indeed in a gray area. It is not part of BRICS yet. But this gray area, I think, just want to say a few words on this gray area that Saudi kind of tends to position itself in very well. Historically, it's always operated very well in the gray area. One of the, not sure, there we go. Okay, good. So not sure, you know, if it, I'm sorry, it operated very comfortably in the gray area. This was actually part of a survival mechanism. It always adapted to the uncertainties of the world. And you know, I think, as Dr. Aziza mentioned about you know, this alignments and previous alignments, during that time in a bipolar world, you know, a lot of the times people think that the Saudi-American relationship or the Saudi-Western relations were very much intact, and yes, they were strong, but there was a great deal of anxiety from the Saudi perspective. And so I think they realized that anybody, you know, diversification now is not only a strategy, but really a mechanism of generating new alternatives that could enable it to reach its very lofty ambitions. And I think anybody that follows Saudi Arabia now will see or hear of one of the core themes, Vision 2030. That's one of the core themes that one would hear, but in particularly is diversification. So you have here BRICS, and there's a relationship between BRICS and Saudi Arabia really has at its heart the process of diversification. Both, I think BRICS is seeking a more diversified global order, and Saudi Arabia sees also a great deal of credence in this diversification. So, and why? Because I think for Saudi, restructuring its economy is not a matter of preference. It's an existential question for Saudi Arabia. And I think not many people, you know, appreciate that enough, in my opinion. It's an existential question. And that's why I think BRICS and Saudi Arabia and you know, are very harmonious when it comes to this this joint principle of diversification and joint goal. Now, I just want to also say this. One of the reasons why it's not there yet is, you know, a hedging strategy. And I think this is something that they're also very good at. I think Saudi Arabia sees a great deal of credence and utility in generating options, because that's something that I think they're really looking forward to do. But this is the thing, what kind of option is BRICS? BRICS for Saudi Arabia is considered to be, I'll break my book a little bit, that's fine. BRICS is not considered a substitute, but an alternative. And I think the Saudi lens, how Saudi sees BRICS or sees this evolving multipolarity. So you can't hear? Okay, I'll just hear it. I'll just hold it like this. How's that? Thank you very much. Okay, no problem. So I think, can you guys hear me now? All righty, good. My dad would be very happy if I never had a microphone. he would be like, don't tell him there's a microphone issue, please. Yeah. But anyways, I'll just say a few words here and I'll be quiet. I'll try to. The Saudi lens in this multipolarity, I think too many people like to embrace Saudi and saying Saudi Arabia is trying to be multipolar. Embracing this. I don't think so. I think we have to be a bit more nuanced in how Saudi sees the Saudi lens of multipolarity. And in my opinion, I think Saudi sees the new world order and this emerging world order as an asymmetric multipolar world. In other words, that BRICS is an... How about now? Okay. I'll just say this. In a multipolar world.
Yeah.
I wish BRICS we could have more BRICS. See, the diversification of microphones as well is paying off. So I think what Saudi sees the world, this multipolar world, not in a symmetric multipolar world, but in an asymmetric multipolar world. It still sees the United States as its main preference. However, note that it's not a strategic necessity that it used to be, but the United States, for example, is a strategic desire, a strategic preference. And now Saudi understands that it has options, which gives it also room to negotiate more. So I think the relationship between BRICS and Saudi Arabia, and especially with a Saudi asymmetrical multipolar lens, renders a great deal of potential for the days ahead.
I think it works better if we share the mic. Okay, so now, Nikolai, I'll come to you now. So the BRICS expansion is clearly very much in Russia's interests, geostrategic, economic, political interests. It has been clear also with Russia's hosting of the summit about a month ago in Kazan. What did that summit achieve?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be here and to share my thoughts. Though the question you're asking, again, it will require the proper answer, it will require 1001 night storylines, but I'll try to formulate it within like three points. First of all, definitely Moscow cannot afford to present this summit as a kind of an anti-Western event. From what we've already heard, these countries that either participating or has interest towards it, they definitely pursuing different goals, and any attempt to add an obvious anti-Western flavor to this organization will alienate them. Meanwhile, and that's the second point, Moscow definitely is exploiting BRICS and its expansion for its own needs, which are largely determined by the Russia's confrontation with the West and by the consequences of Putin's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. From this point of view, Russia is playing a long game. In terms of the near gains, like the direct gains, we definitely see the substantial effect of the summit on the Russia's image, both inside the country and outside of it. Moscow clearly showed to the international community that there is no global isolation. It definitely has certain support, and I don't like to use this phrase, but it's quite popular today within the global South, though what the global South is a good question. And it sure up to a certain extent the social base of support of the Putin's regime inside the country, showing that, look, we're not alone. Our economy is not doing well, but see, there are 35 countries that came to our summit. However, I would be much more cautious and much more interested in the long-term outcomes of Kazan summit, because Moscow clearly stated what it would like to get from this organization in the long run. It's basically the story of creating quite a complex system that would allow Russia to avoid sanctions or to undermine any attempt to strengthen the sanctions pressure imposed on it. And what's more important, Russia is basically making a blueprint that can be followed by other countries. And that's the third and the last point, unfortunately, in time, that I would like to make, that Russia's success, and we must admit it, though there were no direct and viable outcomes, but it was a success in bringing at least 35 countries the leaders of 35 countries in one place. It wouldn't be possible without those processes that are currently taking place within the international economy and within the international system of international relations. Namely, we see the world is trying to diversify its relations, hedge its relations.